Or 15 years ago.
Or even 15 years ago, yeah.
19
yeah, things
years
have
ago.
changed even since then in our relationship.
That's, wow, that would be something I think would be really powerful to for your work or for our work, how a body changes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
In my 50s, I don't have the same body that I did when I met him and I was in my 30s.
And it's her communication that helps me navigate that right now.
Welcome to the Awaken Pillow Talk podcast. My name is John Stringer.
And I'm Kathy Stringer. We're a married couple and business partners here to authentically share the practices and teachings that help us and others create aligned and fulfilled relationships.
Yep. Each episode's packed with the lessons, insights, joys, and challenges we experience in raising a blended family, managing various adventures, serving clients, and inspiring people around the world.
We'll also answer your best questions and feature riveting interviews on our monthly live stream.
So thanks for tuning in as we jump into today's discussion.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Awaken Pillow Talk. We are delighted to be with you. And how long has it been since we've done a live?
Too long.
Too long.
It's been a while since.
However long it's been, we're glad to be back.
Yes, this is going to be a great one though.
Yes, and this is one we've had on the radar for a while, searching for the right person.
That's true.
To bring on.
We talked to lots of people, but we knew when we talked to this person, she was the right one.
Exactly. We were so grateful, and it was very in alignment with where we are as we continue to align and listen for that guidance. And we got very clearly, this is the person to have this session with. So we give thanks, and we want to introduce you to a wonderful soul who we've had the pleasure of knowing for how long now, sweetheart?
Not that long, a few months maybe.
Yeah,
it's been a very powerful, like you just know when you know it kind of relationship.
That's it.
So we've been getting to know each other, and just grateful to have her in our lives.
And the cool thing is we're also in other spaces, or have traveled in other spaces together in some mastermind, abundance, life workshop type work that we've done. I think that's how we met, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to introduce our incredible guest today. For those who know her, I'm sure you love her as much as we do. For those who do not, we'll introduce, she is a doctor in oriental medicine, international tantric practitioner, a Reiki Master, a sound healer, a doula, Dr. Nathalie Henrich. And would you mind reading her, telling us her bio?
Dr. Nathalie Henrich is an international tantric practitioner whose work in healing has helped hundreds of women and men work through different forms of traumas and blockages. Her offerings encompass a variety of modalities that help induce spiritual healing, womb healing, and energetic liberation. With over 5 years of experience as a doctor in oriental medicine, sound healer, Reiki Master, postpartum doula, and other modalities of healing arts, Nathalie supports men and women to remember their ancient wisdom and step fully into their divine embodiment.
Beautiful. That's
feel
powerful,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so apropos for even the discussion Kathy and I were having this morning. So thank you, Dr. Nathalie, for being with us, and welcome to the show. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, you guys, for having me. It's so loving, and I'm so happy that I met you guys.
Likewise.
Yes.
One of the conversations we were having this morning for our listeners and viewers and you, Dr. Nathalie, was that we were reflecting on how when you're doing the work to release the traumas and the blocks, it doesn't necessarily feel comfortable, and it may be something you may be used to repressing or suppressing or avoiding doing or escaping from doing, right? But once you begin to do that work, it can bring up strong energy like body shaking energy, and as it releases, it makes way for joy. It makes way for all these other beautiful things, and that's the like a lot of times we want to skip to the joy.
Right.
It's like not do the work, right? It's like So we're grateful you're helping people navigate that work. And have you seen that same type of experience in your own work that we were describing? That we'll start that as the first question.
Good question. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, absolutely. I think healing work is always super uncomfortable. And also, there's never like, we think there's a goal and there's a point where it's kind of over. It's like when I remember when I started my own healing work, I started thinking, well, if I do this for a couple of months, after that, I'm going to be good, you know? But then after a couple of months, I realized, wow, now I kind of upgraded for my, what I understand from my own upgrade, right? And now something else comes up and something else comes up. So it's, and then I realized it's actually not something that's goal oriented. It's more like a journey, you know. Once you take that on, you're like, okay, every time I come to another threshold where I'm like, okay, now things are getting stagnant, something is not working right, then it's another invitation to look at myself and to readjust things. So I've been on this for so long and it's never ending. And sometimes it can be almost frustrating. It's like, when is it ever going to be over? But then also it's this moment where like, okay, I'm going to make peace with myself and say, I'm getting more conscious as I walk, and I'm getting more awake as I walk, and I see more and feel more. Everything gets just more intense as I walk and as we all walk. And we're just making this a journey, a way to be, a lifestyle.
Yes.
So interestingly that you've come into my life at a time where I'm really seeking to release fear around sexual intimacy, coming from a Catholic background where there was a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, even to talk about it, you know. And I've been on this journey for a while and been blessed to bring John into my life, who's also helped me really face a lot of things. But with that topic, and, you know, people really wanting to step into their own power and self-love through sexual intimacy, what are your thoughts on that, and what do you bring in that regard?
So my thoughts on sexual intimacy, or like looking at our own sexuality, is the most powerful tool for myself. Because I feel everything, I mean, we all know, or most of us know that by now, that sexual energy is the most powerful energy, or orgasmic energy is the most powerful. It's like when you orgasm, it's so powerful that you cannot control anything. It's like you have to absolutely, totally surrender. Like if somebody will come, you're orgasming and somebody comes in the room, there's no way back. You're going to orgasm no matter what.
There's no stopping it.
There's no stopping it.
Hold on, orgasm. Let me deal with this first.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. It's like, oh, damn it, now I have to start new. But yeah, so it's like, it's the most powerful energy. And so I've noticed throughout my own life, all the decisions that I've been making and everything that I've lived somehow goes back to my sexuality. So to me, everything in life is based on sexuality. So now, am I talking about sex itself? Not necessarily. I'm talking about the energy of sex, of this vibration that we always kind of have when we meet somebody, when we talk to somebody. There's always an intimate thought of some form, not only between men and women, also between friends, parents, children. There's that underlined energy of sexuality. It's constantly there. So yes, everything is based on sexuality. So I feel like once we look at our sexuality, that's when we're actually really able to heal or address a lot of things in our life.
And I'd love to explore what you just said more, not only for our listeners, viewers, etc., but for our conversation. Sexuality, the way you described it, I think gives it a much broader definition than people may be used to seeing it. And for me, it points to something I think of as like this underlying current of bliss that's always accessible, but you know, we may not, like, it reminds me the way you were describing it of that. Would that be similar, or is it something altogether different than that?
I mean, I think in a way you can say it like that, because you say there's always an underlying currency or like energy of bliss. It's like we always seek bliss in everything that we do, right? We always want to have that orgasmic feeling. If I eat something, if I go out, if I meet people, it's always somewhat of an orgasmic, or it's a good feeling, right? When we say we feel good, I feel happy, I feel aligned, it's orgasmic, it's blissful. So somewhat, yes, you're right. Like we're always looking for that bliss. How can I get to that state of bliss? Right? And so unconsciously, we are looking for that. And this is how we then get disaligned when we meet the opposite sex or same sex, whatever your preference is, right? And because we always feel like, how can I get to this place again? With our jobs, with meeting people, with pornography, social media, whatever it is, everything is like a penetration of my mind, so I can feel it in my body. And the more intense I feel it, the better it is, and the more I want it. So it becomes an addiction. Same as foods, right? Sugar gives me bliss. Sugar gives me like, oh my God, I feel so good, it's orgasmic. So now I'm getting into this addiction of sugar. So I love to talk always about sugar being very similar to sex. It's like, it's the same kick that I feel, right? And I know it's not necessarily good for me, but it brings me to that place of like, oh my God, I'm feeling great, right? So
yeah.
And is some of what you teaching people balance? Because if people are obviously chasing that high, that you can't sustain that. So when you're in the lows and you're using your sexual energy and you're bringing the traumas through, and the things that vibrationally doesn't feel like bliss. I mean, I know that you can translate bliss to be different things, but are you teaching people how to accept where they are and empower themselves and in the highs and the lows?
So I think it's beautiful when you say the balance of it, but in the long run, I think it's not necessarily it is the balance, but also it's like knowing the energy that I'm operating on and why I'm doing it. That's more important. So if I go, let's give an example, right? I want to find more balance in my love life, but I'm still like, I don't know, watching a lot of porns and hitting on every person that I'm meeting and trying to see if I can have sex with them. So now, obviously it's unbalanced, but maybe in this moment I feel unbalanced, maybe people that live like that or live very polyamorous or very like, oh, whatever, it feels balanced in that moment. So now for me, it's more important to understand what energy I'm operating at right now. So in that moment, for instance, I'm in my lower chakras. I'm not much in my higher chakras. So I'm not really operating my third eye and my crown chakra. I'm pretty much operating with my root chakra and my sacral chakra, which is the primalistic force. My primal force is that as a woman, I want to open up my womb unconsciously. I don't know about this as a woman that has never gotten into sexual teachings, but as a woman, all my knowledge comes through my womb. All my power comes through my womb. So I always tend to go to men that somehow have a power. So now, do I know this? I'm operating consciously about it? No, I'm not. I don't know about this, right? I'm a 25-year-old girl. I have no clue, but I'm going down with this rapper or with this rich guy or with this person because it's very spiritual, or with a very good cook or somebody has a lot of influence, or a politician, because my womb knows that through this I can access more power, more knowledge. So for men, on the other hand, it's also accessing, unlocking keys, because the divine masculine does need the keys of a woman to unlock certain powers, but it's also to secure their breed. Man, the animalistic primal force is securing my breed. So my semen goes into whoever, right, to secure at one point that they're going to have a baby and I can secure my blood. So when I know this, right now, I don't know this, I'm going all crazy and living that life. And obviously it has, then later it backfires at one point. But now I know, okay, I meet as a woman something very powerful, and my heart goes like, and I'm getting all like this, and I really want to be with this man, and I start like doing all the elbows with the other girls because I want to get him. So now, because I know, okay, Nathalie, it's my womb being on that mode right now, wanting to access knowledge. So I'm looking at it. Is it really that I want to have sex with this person and be with this person? Or is it just the energy of that person? Is it the knowledge, the power that this man brings? And maybe I can access that in a different way other than not necessarily like sexual, right?
Right.
So now this is the confusion. Now, because I'm thinking it has to be sexual, now what I'm doing, I'm getting with this guy. It's incredibly amazing the first 3 months. And then we realize we don't fit together. And then we start fighting. And then all this toxic stuff coming. Now I'm creating trauma, right? Now I'm creating all this trauma that leads me to close my heart and I cannot move on. And then we separate. And then I'm closing up because I have a bad experience with this man. But really initially, maybe it was just because I was supposed to work with this person, or I was supposed to just learn from this person, whatever their craft is. But now I mixed it with sexuality because of my primal force being not conscious about it. Right. So I'm not necessarily talking about balance. It's more about knowing where I'm at in my energy when this moment happened. And then from there, taking a good decision.
Love it. So that leads to the topic of our overall podcast. What we try to infuse is, how do you make those good decisions? How do you access and bring in that balance, that the way you described it, of, you know, whether it's the womb, and being able to take that energy and know, is this a sexual thing for intimacy physically, or is this there's a better way for me to have an exchange of knowledge or what have you. Yes. What we often talk about is alignment, as aligning with the highest self or the divine, and accessing that to help guide you, and having a relationship with that part, to bringing that in to the mix. And we often hear it, it's called integration, where we're integrating both that and the other chakras, right? To bring it all into balance and let that guide. When you hear the concept of aligned relationships, what comes up for you?
It's such a beautiful question. Thank you so much for that. So to go to the first part about what you were just asking, how can we actually operate better, right? So there's different things how we can learn to operate our sexual energy better or command it better. First is the self-pleasure with myself, and actually getting a hold on my sexual energy, and not necessarily thinking, oh my God, I want to orgasm now, just let me have sex with this person, right? So it's like, I'm accessing my orgasmic energy in a different way, not necessarily sexually, but I'm learning how to actually access my orgasmic energy through non-sexual thoughts. So that's when we talk about orgasmic manifestations. It's when I learn through self-pleasure how I can actually go to an orgasmic place or state of mind without having any sexual thoughts.
So may I ask a clarifying question? So would this, I may be thinking about this all wrong, would this be like self-pleasure, like masturbating and thinking non-sexual thoughts?
Yep.
Would that be an
Is that what you're describing?
That's exactly what it is. So now when I tell you masturbating, you think automatically about sex, right? So now let's change up the word. Let's say, don't use masturbating. Let's use self-pleasure. Let's use painting. Let's use painting. Okay.
Got it.
I'm going to go paint to create and manifest a beautiful picture.
Yes.
So now we're not sexual anymore.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying right now is like, I'm masturbating and make myself orgasm and have an amazing feeling.
Right.
But let's go away from the word because actually when we hear about semen and vaginas and penises and masturbating, we think about sex.
Right.
But so let's get away from it. Okay. I'm painting something, right? I'm going with myself and I'm pushing certain buttons in my body that access the creativity in me so I can create a beautiful painting on my own with my own energy.
And are there other ways to do it besides physically? Like, can you do that same thing?
Absolutely, through breath only.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Got it.
You can orgasm through breath without even having to touch yourself.
Right.
So that is one way to actually get an access or get a hold or a way of commanding my own sexual energy. Meaning, if I'm in front of a person that I find very attractive, it's like, okay, this is just an energy right now that's arising, right? it causes me bliss. And now my conditioned mind of society thinks, okay, we just have to have sex. But now I'm unconditioning myself, right? I'm painting. And I know that my desire right now to orgasm on this particular person is just the energy. Now we came together, two souls came together because we have an exchange. Let's take music, because I know you both also love music. I'm meeting somebody who's a musician, and he's maybe attractive, he's okay, but I'm meeting him, and now we play together and we're creating magic. So what's happening in our conditioned mind? I have to go with this guy. He's my he's my man. That's him. We create these amazing sounds, and everybody is like feeling like this, and oh my God, we're looking at each other and we're creating magic, right? So now next step would be, in a normal life, is I'm starting dating this person, right? But now I'm training my orgasmic energy, and I know that every time I meet somebody that has a purpose in my life for whatever reason, music, cooking, reading together, having good friendship, having a sister for life, brother for life, whatever it is, every time I meet somebody that's somewhat physically attracted to me, I will feel that. So now I know this, right? I know this from now on. From today on, I know this. So now I meet this person. Now I'm taking my time, because I know, yes, I'm going through all these orgasmic energies. Now I'm going to go home, masturbate, think about the person. It's like, oh my God, so sexy. I don't know what, right? But now I'm letting time pass, and I'm getting to know this person 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And I'm noticing, you know what, there's actually a lot of things that don't fit. And actually, yeah, he's attractive and he's handsome and we're creating amazing music, but I think I couldn't be with him. Now I notice it because I took time. I didn't go from the root. I went from the heart, from my third eye. We're still creating music together. And then I realized, you know what? I think we only met because we're really supposed to make music together. So now I didn't create any trauma. I didn't create any drama. I didn't create any, like fighting, or we get together, we fight so much, we never speak again. And all this beautiful music has never been created because we fucked it up. Excuse my French. Because we both, in our root chakra, we think, oh, this is just what we do. We feel attraction and we just have sex. That's just what we do. That's just what we are taught, So I hope that kind of helps with the question when you said, like, how can I notice, or how can I learn more about that?
So taking time, one of the ways, observing what's going on and not effing it up.
And I'm asking you guys, like, how many times when you think about your exes, you were like, what was I thinking? Why was I doing this? It's just because, you started dating, and after a couple of months, or after a couple of weeks or a couple of days, you started having sex. Now the sex is great. Now our bliss, right? The addiction comes in. Now my body wants it. And how many marriages are created? How many kids are created off of this? And you knew already you're not going to stay with that person. You knew it already.
Great point. And in fact, my journey was very much like that, where I got to the point where I was asking myself, why does this not work? Why is this messing up every time? So but that was before we got together, thank goodness. Worked that out.
Interesting, going on our 19th year together. My natural state is really looking for that deeper connection. Yes, the sexual connection, I love that as well, but I haven't, I've had a few long-term, 2 marriages, one that I'm still grateful to be in, and some long-term boyfriends. So I've never had that, I want to have sex with them. I want to have sex with them. It's always for me been about that deeper connection. Not always, shoot, in my 20s, I can't say that it was always. But
no, about it.
But it's interesting in the question that John asked about aligned relationships, with the intention to come from your higher knowing. Now, sometimes that comes with experience and comes with wisdom and comes with recognizing, okay, this didn't work and what will work. And you start to bring in that intention to have an aligned relationship. But I would love to hear what that, I know John asked this, what does that bring up for you, an aligned relationship?
An aligned relationship to me is a relationship absolutely meant to be. And that is where people can see each other fully and are 100% satisfied with who they're with.
Mm.
That for me is an absolutely aligned relationship.
And can you be 100% satisfied with the person you're with if you're not 100% satisfied with who you are?
You know, I would say no, but I have seen people that are. I have had clients that I can say as a woman, they were not aligned, but they have an amazing marriage. So I think at some point we can balance it out, also depending, but obviously there's always something that we work on. So I'm not sure how I feel about, you know, each and every one of you has to be 100% full to be then able to be together, because I'm going to do this for the rest of my life until I feel 100% full. Now there's moments that I feel 100% full. And maybe as I do the work, there's more moments where I feel 100% full. But do I feel every day 100% full? No, I don't. And I don't think that the other person does it either. But do we make it together 100% full? Yes, I absolutely believe in that.
It's funny. So getting on that topic, the dynamics of presence, for example, or what we call alignment, other people might call it presence. To me, just as you describe, at times you do feel 100% full, and at times you may not, and then how you come together. What we've experienced is, in order to create that aligned relationship, we've got to have a commitment to doing what it takes to get there. No matter where we find ourselves, right? To get there being to find the harmony in whatever that looks like, to find the what works best and highest for all concerned, to get there together. Like that to me is it may look different for each couple. It may look different for, you know what I'm saying, for different people, but I think it's easy to have this, because I've done this many times, have this cookie cutter idea of what it is, right? What the perfect relationship is, or what, and
it changes for one.
That's a snapshot of your own desire in your own imagination, right? And two, even if you do get there, it's not gonna stay because it's a snapshot, right? It's gonna change without question. From moment to moment, it's gonna change, but especially from year to year. So in our practice for the spiritual side, or for just living, practical living, what we do is on a daily basis, we use practices to help us expand our awareness and bring that integration in, to bring the balance and help us create that harmony. First and foremost, what's ours to do, and then second, who are we to show up as, right? Or let me rephrase that. First and foremost, what's ours to experience and know internally, and then secondly, what inspired action, how are we to serve, to show up, etc., right? So in doing that, when it comes to sexual intimacy and applying that there, that is where I think our own personal journeys, we've had to do our own individual work in healing to bring and create aligned relationships with sexual intimacy. And it's such a unique journey for each of us, but I think for every individual. But then there's some principles that apply to everybody, right? Like no matter what is going on. And I love what you said about the shift in perspective of it. Feels like a big part of the healing, or a big part of the opportunity to be able to move into that mastery and that enjoyment with that sexual energy is the shift in mindset. Because even as we talked about it, like notice how like you'll say certain words, be comfortable, let's shift the energy on that. Let's change it to painting. Right?
Yeah. Creates a different energy.
It creates a different energy. Yeah. So I think that's beautiful. And I think that's necessary when we first started, even in our own life path, and begin to shift our own. The first thing that came through to shift, besides learning to align, was our perception of life itself. It started to shift that for us, that life's motive is more, and that life was seeking to express more in all these different ways, and that our own perception of what God was and the infinite was limited, and that needed to shift, right? And all this stuff started coming through. It's like, oh, so a lot of it seems, in order to really fully step into the beauty of life, the beauty of sexual intimacy, may start with shifting our perspectives. So with that question, what perspectives would you say are the top 3 you've encountered, whether personally or with others, to shift?
Well, definitely I don't have to be with a lot of people in order to actually really achieve a beautiful sex life or have amazing intimacy. That's definitely, I think, my absolute number one, what I noticed about myself, because I was, unlike Kathy, I was very wild. And I grew up in Germany, where, you know, our culture is very different when it comes to sexuality. We are very open for the most part. So yeah, my absolute 100% insight is that I can find 100% fulfillment and bliss with only one person, and that I don't have to look for a gazillion things. It's just a different color, but it's still all colors, you know, and it just creates a whole mashup of things the more I just seek and go and go and go. So that has definitely been my number one. My second and third, I kind of have to think about that, but
Sure.
yeah, but that's definitely my deepest insight. And this is also why I actually started doing this work, to inspire others to actually change a lot of things for the better. I know it sounds like sacrifice. It does sound like sacrifice. That's the thing. So a lot of people, you tell me a couple of years ago that I should live more monogamous and really like pay attention to one partner, I would say, like, are you crazy? Because I was very polyamorous in my 20s, extremely polyamorous. So I thought it was a sacrifice. Now it's like the utmost expression of beauty and harmony and bliss, to be with one person and fully seen with that one person and being fully satisfied and fulfilled with that. And I know it has the essence of being all religious and saint, but it's really not. You can still do crazy things, you know, but when you shift your mind and you recognize, in the end of the day, it's just another vagina, it's just another penis, really. I mean, excuse my French, but that's really what it is.
Right.
To find that person, you guys said you're 19 years together, to find that person that is willing to adjust with you the whole time, you know, what else are we missing out, really? If you really deeply think about it, what is it that you're really missing out, you know?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
We've had many conversations around that.
You know, and I think just from a perspective of being in a long-term relationship, the most important thing for me always is communication.
Yeah.
You know, because there is no, you know, my biggest challenge is change, and we all know things are going to change, life is going to change, our kids are going to change, you know, trying to hold on to it. Oh, it feels so good right now, let's keep it just like this, you know, has really been something that I've been willing to look at myself and open myself up to. Things are going to change, and how can we flow and change in a way that serves both of us in an aligned relationship, where we're tapping in to our own inner power that used to not be very important to me. I was, you know, I found my twin flame, my soulmate. It was like, you know, what can I do to serve you? And interestingly, he was pointing out to me, you know, that I'm just serving everybody. What about serving yourself? You know, I couldn't even hear it. I was just so deep in serving others. And now I'm on this journey of really recognizing my own inner power and coming from that place, still serving in a way that's for me and not to get a response from someone else.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a huge shift and a growth opportunity, and scary at the same time. So there's if you can have that relationship that you can be honest and have real communication and grow together and know it's not going to say exactly how it is right now and be okay with that, that to me can really lead to a aligned relationship.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I love that the sexual intimacy side, even in our relationship, I think has evolved over time, right? Because when you first met me, I was Mr. Wild. I'm almost 50 now. I'm not as quite as wild. But thankfully, our relationship changed, or as we got close and formed a relationship, I also changed my expression of sexuality, and we became monogamous, and we've enjoyed that the whole time since. And the beautiful part, I think, is as we have journeyed through this path and begin to tap in and find ways to listen to the guidance, it's helped us in both the sexual side and to face the things we need to face individually. Yes. I feel like that's what the path of monogamy allows you to go really deep with a partner and be a mirror and
be authentic,
but support each other in that journey. And at least that's how it's shown up for us.
Yes.
In that, and have the hard conversations and do the deep work that is not probably, what's the word? Not common. It's uncommon. It's kind of uncommon to take these plunges into the type of healing that we've been able to journey on together. Like, I don't know a lot of couples doing that kind of work, you know what I'm saying, together. But not that it doesn't happen, I'm just not aware of it. But it's not so common, like, oh yeah, I see that everywhere. Right?
And I was going to say, and in your work, I know, what I've heard about it is, part of what you do is releasing blockages and traumas and, things that people are holding on to. So what do you do in the work that you, the tantric work, that allows for that?
When it comes to sexual intimacy specifically.
Yes.
I think what it really is where I just help people, and I say just because it's actually so easy. I just help people to be really fully seen, to see each other for who they really are, and to tap into the energy of love, of unconditional love. And in that energy, we're actually able to face anything alone. If you're single or in a partnership, you're just able to face it and to work through it because you can fully see and accept yourself and the other. So that is my major work, really. Like when people come out of my retreats or whenever they work with me, it's that feeling of self-love and knowing where I'm standing by myself on my own, but also really accepting and loving the other for who they are and wherever they're at, no judgment,
That's the goal, right? Just that word unconditional, because, when you really, if your intention really is to love someone unconditional, that's a big step, and some of us can't even love ourselves unconditionally. So, it's like to really start with self-love, loving yourself unconditionally. I feel like really you have to get in touch with first before you can look at the other and love them unconditional. Just for myself. I thought I didn't know that I had to do that. And, but that's what's come up for me through all of this healing and shifting is like, wow, do I even really love myself unconditionally? I have all these conditions on my love for myself. And so releasing that.
I think it's beautiful that you are able to do that work in your marriage, because I remember that I had to step out of my marriage, my 10-year marriage, to actually go on that journey. I had to be by myself. I wasn't able to work with him through it. Right. And sometimes I think, man, if I would have had the tools back then, maybe I could have, and there's no regrets. Like it's always divine the way it is. Yes. But thinking back, it's like, if I would have had the tools, maybe we would have been able to save it, and to work through it together. So I think it's amazing that you're able to like have that communication, even if it hurts. And even if it's like, wherever you guys are at, like there's always moments that are painful, especially when you love somebody, it it is painful to love. And then it's not painful, it's just intense. It's living
vulnerable.
It's living that fullest expression of, you want this person to be yours. It's like, you're mine. But then this person has their own feelings and thoughts and actions, and you're just like, and then you're like, okay, let me work on myself. So a lot of women also, when they come, especially in the abusive relationship, it's always like, he did this and he did that, and then he did this, and then it's like, okay, let's talk about you. And it's like, who am I? So that's the thing. And I was in the same. I would always like look at what he did, what he did, and then the marriage would fall apart. And he did a lot of things that were completely not aligned, But my mom, she gave me a book about self-love when I was like 5 years into my marriage, and I didn't read the book. And just recently, like a year ago or so, I found the book again. I was like, oh my God, my mom already saw it. It was about self-love, and I did not read it because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that I had to work on myself and talk about me instead of him. I have to talk about me, who I am, what I want to do, where I want to be, and all the things that I can create and do, and all the amazingness that comes from me, So it's just beautiful that you can be on that journey together, however emotions and notions there are.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And the funny thing is, you mentioned how if you had those tools, maybe you would have saved it. That's quite possible, and it's quite possible you wouldn't have.
And that's what you needed to save yourself. That relationship is what brought you the tools.
Bingo.
Brought you to the journey to seek for the tools. Because I also was in a former marriage, and I think that sometimes too. Not that in any way know that everything is perfect, but had I been this person then, would it be differently? But I couldn't have been this person then. Yeah. Everything that happened in that relationship is what made me, bring this person into my life and really push me out of my comfort zone in a way that has been tough. And I really believe that vulnerability, if you really can be vulnerable, that's the true way to change, the true way to growth. And he's really taught me that. And all the teachers that have shown up in my life have taught me to be vulnerable, which was something that I ran from, right?
So one of the things or did you have a comment on that before I get into that?
No, I'm just taking it in.
So one of the things that on the sexual intimacy side, I think that we learned from each other was the importance of communicating about it.
Right.
Like we really, whether you're in a relationship or not, I don't know how single people do this now because I haven't been single in a while. But,
Same.
but
you should communicate.
Right. But the communication part for us was probably just as important as the experience, because it really helped. Like, for example, things that she liked and how she liked things, she helped me understand. And I'm like, oh, so don't do that again. And don't keep doing this and don't keep doing that. She doesn't like it like that. Okay. And, it's like, that used to work for, these other relationships or whatever, but it might not work in this current
relationship. Or 15 years ago.
Or even 15 years ago. Yeah.
19
things
years
have
ago.
changed even since then in our relationship.
That's, wow. That would be something I think would be really powerful to for your work or for our work, how a body changes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
In my 50s, I don't have the same body that I did when I met him and I was in my 30s.
And it's her communication that helps me navigate that. Like, I was actually referencing like things I used to do before our relationship, you communicated. And to your point, things that changed in a relationship, you have communicated and helped me see, oh, okay, yeah, that used to work early in our relationship. That doesn't work anymore. Let's try something else, right? So it's been beautiful. I think that's helped our sexual intimacy when it comes to navigating what we like, and I've been very clear with what I like.
He's
correct?
had no challenge.
It's like, okay, this is what I like. Okay.
Which really is a great example for us women. I try to teach our daughter this, who's 21, just turned 21. We have this expectation that they're going to know. And there's almost disappointment if they don't know. Well, does he really love me if he doesn't know that this is what I want? And just that lesson that we have to be able to be clear and speak it and be honest about it. There's no mind reading going on here. And
what about asking?
And asking, yes, that's something that he reminds me.
That's just my
need to
personal
ask
preference.
clearly, not try to hint or
Because I'm gonna miss the signals half the time. I need a direct ask.
Yeah, and I think men are wired that way, right? They really
well, not all men, but I am.
a lot of men.
A lot of
What
men.
do you think about that?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's so many things that I want to say about
Go
this.
ahead.
For tomorrow, but but definitely, yeah. We have men and women obviously have a different way to communicate, you know, and I think again, it's because of our way we were educated about, you know, it's that men are just more direct and just take whatever they need, but it's also implemented in our society. Like I said, like for instance, porn industry is the best example, you know, but men just go and take whatever they want, and the woman just does whatever he wants, like most of the time, unless you look like for a specific type of porn, you know. But I'm just saying the mainstream is always that she somehow caters to him, and he's the one that just like does the whole thing and kind of puts her like down in a way energetically. So yeah, and I think that's it's a disease, it's a pandemic in our society, you know, that we women are not speaking up, and we have not taught to speak up. And because everybody does it that way, so now it's like it becomes an awkward thing. So now I'm with a guy, right, that just had a gazillion women, and he just thinks that every woman comes after 2 minutes, and he just bangs her hard and she's screaming around. And then he meets me, and I'm telling him, no, we women need time and like softer and just certain positions. Like it's not when I'm turned upside down and I have like my multi-orgasm, like, you know, it's just like, you're not touching my G-spot and my clit. Like, it's like, anatomically it's not, you know, like. So then he looks at me like, you're weird, you know, because all my other sisters that came before me feeding into the narrative. So now I'm the weird one that actually tells them, hey, listen, like,
tells them the truth.
Yeah. So now it's like, well, I think I have heard these things. Yeah, you like taking a long time. It's like, I'm taking a long time. No, like I just don't fake it after 2 minutes. I just don't. Like, I'm sorry. You want to have the real deal, and you know.
Right.
But it's also like, it's also the older we get, and I feel especially for women, it's so beautiful for us women to age, because we really step into a place where we actually can say more what we want and own up more. Like, yeah, okay, I'm a certain age now, I'm not just gonna go have sex with you so you can, you know, be happy. Like, I'm not 20 anymore, where I just want to please you and want to be liked, and feeding into my own self-love issue, thinking, oh, when I'm pleasing him, I'm being more loved. Like, now it's like, okay, I'm a mom now, I'm nurturing myself. So if you want to come into my temple, I also want to be nurtured, you know? So like, I also think like over time, we just, as women, we just learn how to be more ourselves and own our voice, and actually also own what we really want. And with that, also with aging, and then topics like vaginal dryness or not being able to orgasm like crazy, all these things that come up for us women when we hit a certain age. Right. But it's not necessarily a problem. Actually, what it is really an invitation to show men that we do need time, because I needed the same time for foreplay when I was 20 than I'm now. It's the only difference is that I was 20, I didn't say it. You know, now I'm saying it, but my body still wanted it, you know. Did I have it all the time? No, because I didn't say it. But now I have it because I voice it. Now it's like, okay, this is like, I would love to have the whole thing, and I'm also setting it up that way. I'm not setting it up anymore that way. I'm just gonna take off my clothes and just stick it in and like, okay, let's do it. You know, now it's like, okay, like I create an environment and a certain energy that any man that comes into my energy is like, oh, okay, this is like a thing, you know. Not gonna come here.
Bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. This is not going to be out of here in 10 minutes. Okay.
Welcome to the temple.
Exactly. So imagine every woman, every girl would own that womanhood, that central magical being that we are. Imagine we all would own it. Our men would change. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the beginning about we women hold these codes. We hold these keys. It needs a very abusive man that when you tell him, this is what I like, he's going to tell you, oh, fuck it, I don't care. You know, a normal man, like, like non-abusive, normal, conscious, beautiful men would say, beautiful, thank you for telling me, and they will always cater to the woman. Like, every man that I know out of my community is like, oh, I would love to know more. I want to cater to when I have clients and tell me I'm reaching out because my wife, I want to cater to her and I don't know how because she doesn't know how. So they want to learn. Men usually do want to learn, but it's us women.
Men want to master that.
You love it. Men love that. It's like, yes, every man wants to have a multi-orgasmic woman. Every man wants to feel that her temple is just open. Every man, they crave the same beautiful nights with candles and roses like the women. It's just also men haven't really learned to voice it. And again, feeding into a narrative of thinking, oh, I just have to watching porn or watching whatever, twerking on TikTok and thinking, oh, this is the way I have to do it. It's like, but I know so many men that would be appreciative about this and really want to change, and then it's the women, a lot of women's like, no, they are the ones that don't want to go into that work. But we women are the ones that hold these keys. And if every woman would just hold that beautifully, there would be no more misunderstandings. I would get to meet a guy and he knows already that he needs to open me up, that he needs to take time. He knows already that I'm not going to come after a minute. It's like, there's like certain things that he would just know because everybody else is just honest and communicative about it. Mm-hmm. And I think this is also why I'm so passionate about my work, is because of that. I want to unlock that especially in women, to own that and to speak about it and say, okay, this is my problem. I have pain during sex. Okay, why do you have pain? Well, the guy comes in and out whenever he wants to, and he was just partying somewhere else, and okay, and he comes in and after 5 minutes he's done. Yes, of course you have pain. Now she thinks I'm over 40. I have issues with my vaginal, I don't know what, my womb. No, there's no issue. It's just like you coming into a womanhood, you coming into a place where you're invited to step into your power, into your temple space, and where you can invite the man that caters to you, Mm-hmm. So it's just all these little, I'm just giving an example, but it's just all these things, women thinking, I'm not getting wet anymore. What is it? I'm not getting wet anymore. And there's young girls as well. It's not only the women that come into their menopause. It's just, we talk more about it now because now we're like in a different age. But young girls, same thing. They have also issues with these orgasmic issues, lubrication issues. They just don't talk about it. Or you can buy like some gel and you put it inside and then it makes the guy think that you're wet and all these things, and it's just like, it's sad. Why are we doing this? Why are we all feeding in this? It doesn't do nothing, not to men, not to women. It doesn't do no good for anybody. Why we still keep on doing this?
It's a great question. And I think as moms, anyone who's a mom who has a daughter, this is the opportunity to shift, to change, with the youth, and I am so grateful to have these kind of conversations with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And I never had those kind of conversations with my mother, didn't want to and didn't have them. And, I think, again, the more we're open with ourselves, the more we can bring that to our kids, our community, so the work that you're doing, just having people open up and talk about it and look at it and be willing to want more, is so powerful. And that's why I'm super, super grateful that we are collaborating, having you on this show and bringing the powerful work that you have to people that really need it, so
everybody needs it.
Everybody needs it.
Everybody needs it. Everybody has sex. Everybody needs it.
Right. And for those who don't have sex, we invite you to recognize you definitely need it.
We'll bring this to the Catholic priests. They really need it.
No,
okay. But even if you don't have sex, you still have sex with yourself, and even that. And it's also like masturbating on your own with porns is being dishonest with yourself as well. You're not giving your own body the time to get to know yourself, really,
So this is funny, the idea or the analogy of the cycle of life, I can see in the cycle of sexuality and sexual intimacy. Like when you're an infant, the cycle of life, you do certain things and gravitate to certain things and they serve you at that time, right? It's not that they're wrong or right, but when you're a full-grown adult, you're not eating baby food, for example, right? So you've kind of moved on, and as you grow, you begin to gravitate towards other things. Oh wow, soft foods now. So you're that toddler eating soft and hard foods, right? And then you grow to full cooked foods or raw foods or whatever, and so on. And you go through these cycles as you grow. I feel like sexual intimacy is very similar in my experience to where, you know, as from youth to adulthood, I've seen that kind of change. And the biggest shift as of late has actually been shifting the old conditioned ways of looking at the desires and accessing this higher knowing that it's actually the divine will that I have these desires fulfilled, right? And it kind of lets go of the egoic idea, and not meaning, for example, when it comes to my own sexual orgasmic energy and bliss, that higher knowing tells me it's my birthright. It tells me, with or without someone else, it is my birthright, right? And that I not only deserve it, it's just mine. I don't have to deserve it. It's my birthright. Like, you don't have to deserve your birthright. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to be worthy for your birthright. It's yours. I have to be worthy for my hair. You know what I'm saying? That's your birthright. You were born with hair. It's what you were given. So that, to me, that power is the shift that when it comes to sexual intimacy and fulfillment, that's my birthright. And then beginning to let go of the baby food. Like, oh yeah, like whether it was, you know, I gotta be in multiple relationships, whether it's I gotta be in whatever, that was the baby food, right? That was the things I was learning. And now I've matured and moved into this expression of, wow, actually, I can fulfill a lot of this internally. And with that connection, with that power, it's like it's leading me to this fuller expression and fuller fulfillment where I can take that into the intimacy. I can take that into and I'm not like making it feel like the sexual intercourse or the sexual this, that, and the other is like the answer to what I'm looking for. No, actually, this is the neat amplifier I'm plugging into to make the sound louder, but I am the sound, right? It's like, I'm bringing I like the way Kanye West says, I think he says, they said something about having a seat at the table. He's like, I am the table. I don't need a seat at the table. I am the table. So it's that kind of shift that I feel like in our relationship has brought me to this place of now tuning into more of like, okay, what's the adult food when it comes to sexual intimacy? We've moved away from the teen and 20s food. It's like now we're moving into the adult food from this higher level of knowing that, and eventually it's going to be transcending that transcends, like we move away from the adult to this non-embodied food, right? We don't even have to depend on the body anymore because we're expanded beyond the body, right? So that's kind of how I see the evolution of sexual intimacy and alignment. And I feel like the work you all will be doing together, and I'll be supporting, will be helping people move into that, owning it, like you said, internally, owning their own birthright, and then moving into that more, because there's so much more than just like you were talking about, so much more than just the having to do it find the physical spot on the body that does this, that, and the other. It's so much bigger than that.
Yeah, it is absolutely so much bigger than that. And I know we're like also running out of time.
Yes,
but
we are.
I wanted to say that, you know, we haven't even touched on all these topics with manifestation, how sacred union comes together to actually manifest things and to have sex together without being sexual in that sense, but really come together to actually access the portal of manifestation and go into different realms in different densities. And we talk about sex magic, you know, and a lot of people are afraid of it, but at the same time, it's a portal that you can open up to really manifest and to communicate and to download certain things. So like there's so much also to orgasmic energy overall that we can touch on maybe another day.
Love it.
That also, I feel this is why it's beautiful to be in monogamy in that sense, because it comes to a place for me, or it came to for me at least, like to a place in my life where I was like, why am I hooking up with this and this person for what, if there's just this one person right now in my life that I can actually really access that energy, right? For what do I have all the other like physical experiences? Yeah, it's nice to be physical, okay, great, but like where I can really go into different density, different realms, and really learn and manifest and download and create it into my work, you know, and use all of this, and it goes through my fingers into computer, and I can write it, and it becomes a retreat, right? All these things are channeled through my orgasms. So it's like there's so much more to sexuality, you know, where we at one point like really go away, or at least everybody that I know that really practices that, they all went away from being physical in that sense, or just wanting to like go here, go there, and like do all crazy stuff, because it becomes a tool, it becomes a technology.
Right. Love that.
Sexual technology.
Yes, let's go. I love it.
That can power the world.
It does power the world.
Fuels the world.
This is why most of us are here, actually.
That's right.
We just use it in different ways.
That's right.
Without that sexual technology, we wouldn't be here.
wouldn't be here.
Guaranteed.
So-
Well, with that, go ahead.
So I love that you brought up, you know, the work that you do, and I know we didn't get to touch on everything, but there are ways that they can also connect to that. I know you and I are creating a retreat together, and
learn
many
all about
retreats
it,
in the
right?
future. So if you want to learn about those retreats, our retreat that we're working on right now, female tantra and sexual empowerment retreat.
Yes.
So you can find out that on our website.
Right. healingartsmgmt.com. And we'll have the link in the details of the podcast, of course.
And we'd love for you guys to, well, this is a women's retreat, so you women to
And
join
there'll
us.
be more.
But you also do other retreats for men and women, correct? So tell us a little bit about the other, you know, the
Yes.
things that you are offering.
In general, yeah.
Yeah, so the retreats, I mean, we do retreats for women only, where we really empower women through all the beautiful work, and you can check it out on John's and Kathy's website. And then for men and women, it's a beautiful thing, because that's when I really teach and give insights about what else you can do in the bedroom, and get inspired again and get seen again. You know, when you're together for a long time, we tend to do this, you always do this, but you did. We like, you know, we have all these stories in our head. So in these retreats, I'm very big on getting to know each other from a new perspective, you know, and seeing the other and giving each other time. So we will also work on honoring our own tempo and caressing each other for a longer time, looking at each other for a longer time. And like I said before, overall, just insight of how you can create a sex life that is more mystical, more magical, where you can really create these beautiful moments, you know, that we always see in the movies. We can create that, and we can become your baseline in bed. You know, it's like, okay, this is my baseline. This is the standard. This is what I want, you know?
Love it.
We need to go to that.
Hey, we never stop learning.
We are, but you know, so the women can come and really learn how to empower themselves.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have beautiful couple retreats as well. So, you know, you are powering the world, Nathalie, with your amazing teachings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so
the
much.
world, you guys.
And what is your website, just to share it here? I'm sure we'll also post it.
It's NatalieHenrich.com.
How
Just
do you
my
s-
name, NATHALIE, and then HENRICH, NatalieHenrich.com.
Beautiful.
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 Well, we're so grateful you joined us, and we look forward to doing it again, to expand, especially after
Part 2.
you all's next retreat.
Retreat.
And then I think just as Kathy said, I think we will be following up with you on some.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be attending one of those couples retreats. So if you want to join John and Kathy at one of the couples retreats, Yay!
Yes. We'll all bring magic into our lives.
That's right.
Yes.
We'll do it together. So thank you all, everyone. Any last words, Nathalie, for the wonderful audience listening? Anything else you wanted to share?
Just thank you so much, both of you, for having me. And I'm super excited for everything that's to come for our collaborations. And for the audience, I just want to say, be more honest with yourself. Really, it's hard to be honest with ourselves. It's not easy, especially when we have learned something over years and we're on autopilot all the time. But really sit with yourself, be honest and voice it, and it will be for the better. Don't be afraid that you lose something. It will always be better.
Yes.
So true.
Love that.
So
Thank you,
true.
sister.
Perfect.
Well, we appreciate you all for listening once again to just joining us in a wonderful, intimate, aligned conversation to create aligned relationships. We invite you to check us out at healingartsmgmt.com and to hit the podcast tab if you're trying to find the podcasts. And we look forward to another episode soon. But thank you for joining another episode of
Awaken Pillow Talk.
We'll see you next
Peace.
time. Peace.
If you enjoyed today's show, depending on where you're catching it, please like, share, subscribe, etc., and give us a great review.
To further support our work, please go to the show notes or description and look for the donate link to give.
You'll also see links to join our newsletter and follow us on social media.